Are you ready to turn your successful business into the next great franchise brand? Hi, I'm Todd Abraham, franchise consultant with Franchise Marketing Systems, the #1 franchise consulting company in America and Canada. If you've ever thought about franchising your business, now's the time to explore the possibilities. And my consulting services are completely free to any entrepreneur looking to create a franchise from their proven business model. At Franchise Marketing Systems, we handle everything: your franchise disclosure document, federal trademark filing, franchise information website, business plan, and so much more. And the best part, we make it affordable, breaking project fees into 6 to 8 easy monthly installments. So before you take your business nationwide, get the expert guidance you deserve with no pressure and no upfront cost. Call Todd Abraham today at 423-381-0925 for your free consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Todd Abraham with Franchise Marketing Systems, your one-stop shop for everything franchising. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Franchise Marketing Systems Spotlight Podcast. My name is Todd Abraham, and you are tuning in on franchiseradio.net, which is sponsored by Franchise Marketing Systems, which is the #1 company in America to create a franchise out of your business. There's so many things that Franchise Marketing Systems does for you that other companies don't that create franchises, but they do it on a very personable, diligent, and honest level. And the one thing that Franchise Marketing Systems does is they break their fee up for you into 6 to 8 monthly installments so that once you are a full-blown franchise and ready to start selling franchises, you still got some money in your pocket. Today, we are blessed to have with us Mr. Bill Violette, who works very closely with Franchise Marketing Systems and has a company that provides all kinds of services and different things for franchisors, which is what you become once FMS creates a franchise out of your business model. Mr. Bill, without any further ado, welcome to the broadcast, my friend.
Well, thank you for having me and the FMS sourcing services.
Yes, sir. And just so if you want to check out his website while you're listening to the podcast, it's FMSsourcing.com. There's 2 S's in there, FMSsourcing.com. You can't see Bill. I can see Bill, but Bill's got this awesome background for his podcast, and he looks like he's sitting on the beach. The breeze is blowing, and it looks like Hawaii, and it's relaxing to me. Because I haven't been to the beach in years. We were talking about that. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I'll try to go quick. I have a background in exhibits for trade shows. I started a company about 35 years ago. We built exhibits for trade shows. We built signage. We built broadcast sets. And I think most everyone would know some of my work if you watch Monday Night Football. That set that the talent sits at is our set, or the set that I built with that company. College Game Day on Saturdays, that set that they set up and the talent sits at, that was our desk. So we did all kinds of studios, from the Atlanta Falcons to the Dallas Cowboys to, you name it, you name the sport, and we built some sets for them to broadcast from. So I sold that company about 6-7 years ago. While doing that business, I found myself having to find resources a lot because we always had last minute deadlines. We needed to have, vetted sources that would help us, that knew what, type of quality we had, the speed that we had, and we could never have enough employees with some of the deadlines. So when I sold that company, I still needed to keep busy. I like and enjoy doing resourcing, and started a company, Sky Sourcing Services, and that company still exists. Got with Chris Connor, the owner of FMS Franchise, and had some conversations about creating a resource base for franchisors, his franchisors. And we agreed to do that. And we've been doing that for well over a year now and helping franchisors to have a quicker, better, more profitable path on their franchise journey. And it helps them to find, I think the thing that we're doing the most, we provide a bunch of different choices. We don't give one choice whenever possible. We give a bunch of choices, and we have the contacts in senior management or owners to these resources, and it cuts down a lot of the time, a lot of the difficulty of having demos, having meetings and calls with these people. So it speeds up the whole process and helps them to find different types of resources. So
That's fantastic. Well, and another fact about franchise marketing systems is, like Bill was saying, Chris Connor is the president and founder of FMS, and he's got such an incredible team of about 38 people around the country, around in Canada, United States. But they have created franchise models out of hundreds of brands. But another thing that they do for you, like I was saying, is a complete service. And Bill's addition, adding FMSsourcing.com, is just another tribute to FMS about how they try to be your one-stop shop for everything franchising. And on a side note, Bill, I do like watching College Game Day, and that I did not realize that you were responsible for building that platform that does. That's awesome. That's cool information to know. So tell us about just like a bullet point list of different things that folks can find through your service.
So it's amazing with the type of companies that actually can and do franchise. Chris and FMS franchise do a great job in getting them aligned in this direction. But there is all kinds of needs from POS to CRM to food packing, packaging, insurance, accounting software, everything related with food needs, and trucking, just you name what a business could need, a regular business, or a franchise. And we have it in our network, or we will have it in our network. When we get requests that we don't have, then we go out and actually the things that they would have to do, finding, vetting, and interviewing. When we don't have it in our network, that's our function to go out and do that for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so the good thing about that is when you go from a normal business to becoming a franchisor, it's a whole new world. And the best answer I ever heard from a franchisor I interviewed was, he said, I didn't know what I didn't know. The great thing about franchise marketing systems, as far as the creation process from your business model to a very professional, scalable franchise that you can sell and grow quickly, they will do everything for you. And once they get it done, they will help promote and sell your franchises. Where Bill comes into play is all of the logistics after that takes place. As you grow and as you scale, that is what Bill provides. And like he said, he brings a wealth of experience to this. The website, again, FMSsourcing.com, two S's in there. But like he was saying, CRM, customer relation management, accounting software. If you need an actual, like a new studio type setup done, Bill can do that. And just, like you've said, trucking, food, anything you need. If they don't do it, which most they do, they will find a way to get it set up so that they can. How many franchisors have you been blessed to help so far since you started your company, Bill?
There's been many. I don't have an actual number, but in the hundreds. I think that FMS has, near 1,000 different customers. So many of them that have been around forever. I think Chris has started in, 20 years ago around. So we've helped the existing ones and then the new ones to help them, find things that they're not able to find or don't want to have the time. Really important highlight is that we are working on getting volume with these resources and trying to get preferred pricing, which everyone's really excited about. So as we build, as we grow, we'll have volume and we'll have even better volume pricing for these preferred pricing for these franchisors. And another important part is franchisors don't pay anything for this service at any point. We work with the resources and there is help from them to, compensate us for all of our services.
That's fantastic. Well, that's very, very good point. What is the thing that you feel like you've helped the most with franchisors of all the different services that you offer?
I think CRM right now. Um, CRM has been big, but here's another really interesting conversation. In food service, the resources, the big boys, they, that can give, better pricing than some of the small regional companies. Most of them don't want to play with small volumes. So if you're asking for a case of steak or a case of burgers, you're not going to be looked upon and most likely not able to be helped because you're selling, you're a one-off or you got your second store, your fifth store. They look at the hundreds and, 25s usually is a start, but with the big volume buyers. So food is very difficult. Anything related to food, the packaging, the in-store packaging, all of that stuff. It's hard to get preferred pricing. It's hard to actually get help. So people want some help with their blending. They want to help with getting FDA requirements. And we have some companies that actually specialize in some of the small companies. They're not always able to be helped, but you have a pretty good chance with some of these companies we've aligned with.
That's awesome. And like Bill was saying, his previous experience prior to starting FMS sourcing and coming in on board with FMS is right in line with having to find all these different sources, not to sound redundant, for the previous company that he owns. So a wealth of experience there. What I love about what you do, Bill, is you really are taking a lot of the anxiety out of, in other words, FMS creates the franchise. That's great. We're ready to sell, ready to grow. What happens when we sell 5 franchises in a year, and now we really have to scale up our buying for all the different things you were talking about, food packaging, maybe there's more demand for trucking. So as opposed to, like you said, having to go out and vet these different vendors or whatever, you've already got that in place.
Yeah, it cuts down the time, and it's aggravating, to have to, with all the things that a franchise, new or existing franchisor has on his plate every day, to cut down just the intro time, getting to meet, getting to meet and know who the players are. I mean, it's so hard, and we all know this. It's so hard to get somebody on the phone. It's hard to get people to even reply to emails. So we already, try to get a person that's in management or owner in these resources, and most times that's already addressed with us.
That's awesome. There's a commercial, and I don't remember if it is for a prescription drug or something like that, but it shows this guy in all these different situations. And every time something happens, he looks up and his buddies are standing there. One of them goes, "I know a guy."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this reminds me of. It's like, so you get a franchisor and he's like, "Oh my God, I need some accounting software." And then Bill's like, "I'm your guy," and
Yeah.
man, we need a CRM, a customer relation management software. Bill's like, "I know a guy. It's me." So that's very cool. And it really adds to another great reason why you should choose Franchise Marketing Systems. Just so you know, Franchise Marketing Systems was voted the #1 franchise consulting company in America for in 2024. I don't remember which organization it was, but it was a very prestigious selection. Um, Franchise Marketing Systems is a very personable, people-oriented company. And like I said, they've created franchises out of hundreds of brands. And that experience that they bring, that's what they tailor to you, the business owner who's looking to scale. And Bill, you agree that franchising with the current inflation and the price of everything, and like you were saying about, the logistics, franchising is the best way in modern society to grow a business, right?
Yes. Yeah, with all the things going on, too, and a lot of these sources that we have, many of them are all very familiar with franchise type directions. Making sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, which is very important because you're moving in a direction that is different than what you're accustomed to, and Chris and FMS really help you to do that. And on our side, we really push to have resources that are franchisor savvy.
Yep. Bill actually even has two guys that work for him named Bugsy and Guido. And if they don't listen to him when he goes to them for the right pricing, he just sends Bugsy and Guido and they're like, we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, and
No, I'm kidding.
We're not telling Bugsy and the other one what my address is.
We're going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
No, but franchising, the one great thing about franchising, as we were just talking about, it is the best way to expand your business because you're not sharing equity and you've got a vested person in a franchisee who has proven that they are motivated, they are able to manage their money and able to, in order to buy a franchise with you. And FMS is going to handle all of that creation process so that you're ready to sell franchises. And then Bill's going to come in on the back end and make sure that everything that you need as you grow, he's going to have a source available for you there. And most of it, he already has sources in place. And if he doesn't, like he said, he's the kind of guy that he'll go make sure that he gets it set up and then he'll have that going forward as well.
I just like to interject something on that. When I first had conversations with Chris, who, by the way, is, a mid-40s person, really, really good and very, he's well respected in the industry. But one of the things I said to him, which is really important in the beginning, I don't want to do this if I'm giving one resource choice for somebody. We want to have two, three, and sometimes more. We want to have a bunch of resource choices. So I'm not finding you one and then, you're stuck with this one and hopefully it's a good choice. It was right from the start more important to me to make available, 2, 3 interviews, show some statistics about them, how they, would work good in your business for that specific need. And I told Chris that, we were going to make sure that there was, more than one, and hopefully, as many as you need, and how much time you have to interview all these people. So I thought, and I still think it's very important to have, more than one choice. When I was doing that for my old company, the company I owned, I would make sure of testimonials. I would interview a couple people. I would ask some of their customers. So, still a firm believer of all that.
Well, and not only that, but having you there as a consultant to them to give them an honest, unbiased recommendation. That's another huge thing.
Yep.
And that's another awesome thing that I want to bring about franchise marketing systems. They're a very honest company. They are not looking to take your paycheck. In other words, if you came to them and said, hey, I want to create a franchise out of my business model, they'll be, thank you for choosing us, but let's go and take a look at everything involved. In other words, the history of your company, your profit loss statements, and let us give you an honest recommendation on are you ready to franchise? And they'll tell you if you're not, but they will also tell you the areas where you need to fix so that you will be ready to franchise, because as Chris said, we are as vested in our franchisors as they are in us, because once they get everything done, which usually takes about 3 months in most cases, then they're going to help you sell and promote your franchises. They're going to assign you a brand ambassador. And Bill just brings another facet to the diamond, having all those sources behind him. But one thing I do want to point out, too, is Bill's services are not just limited to FMS clients. If you are a franchisor out there and you need any kind of services like he offers, reach out to him. Contact him through the website, fmssourcing.com, 2 S's in there, because, Bill, you also work with other franchisors, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chris was, right in the beginning as we developed this, Chris was certainly very comfortable to help, other franchisors.
Yep, absolutely. What is the best way for a franchisor that's listening to this podcast to get in touch with you, Bill?
As you said on the website, there's ways to contact me, and my email address is bill.violet, 2 T's and an E, with your regular color purple, at fmssourcing.com.
And like I said, on this website, FMSsourcing, 2 S's.com, on the contact page, the contact information is there. So anything else that we haven't mentioned that perhaps that is a service or that you offer, or something that maybe I overlooked in this podcast that you want the franchisors to know about?
I think based on what you said there at the end about, many different things, they're, in FMS telling you whether or not, they think you should be a franchisor yet. There's all kinds of things that go into this, and whether you're a franchisor or just retail, they have help. We have help with, legalities, with locations. So not only, what you're doing, but a very good location on a corner of a street, or, in a mall or whatever. So there's expertise that's available for that also, those kind of things.
Yeah, and that's an important point. I knew there's a reason I probably asked that. But so Bill's business can not only help any franchisor, but it also can help any business owner that's in need of those types of services. And just to recap, CRM, customer relation management, accounting software, any kind of supply type product that you might need for your business, food packaging or trucking, shipping, anything like that, Bill can help you with. And I think that's awesome. So again, Bill Violette, who I consider to be a friend now, him and I have been talking now for, Lord, it's been over a year now. And the only thing I'm jealous of, like I said, is it looks like he's sitting on the beach in Hawaii, and I know he's not, but it still can make me want to be there for sure.
Don't tell Guido where I am.
Well, you got to remember it's Guido and Vinny, and okay. It's so. I'll tell a quick story because I like a little humor in all my podcasts. But so years ago, I called my brother's wife, and the Lord's blessed me. I can do many different accents and do them quite well. But she answered the phone, and I said, hello, this is Guido. I said, I'd like to speak to a Paul Abraham. And she said, who? I said, this is Guido. I said, I'd like to speak to a Paul Abraham. She said, oh, what's this about? And I said, he owes me money. And I said, I'm calling to collect. And this went on for a minute or two. And finally she said, look, Mr. Guido. And when she said Mr. Guido, I couldn't hold back. I just lost it. I died laughing. And she goes, Todd, is this you? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, not funny. And I said, boy, you should hear it from my end. I was rolling. It was so hilarious. But again, you're tuning in to the Franchise Marketing Systems Company podcast series on franchiseradio.net. My name is Todd Abraham, and we have had a great conversation here with Mr. Bill Violette, who is the owner of FMSsourcing.com. And again, it is your go-to one-stop shop for everything to support your franchise with CRM, accounting software, any kind of supply issue, any kind of supply, any kind of shipping, anything you need, even if it's just a call Bill to talk about your business, to maybe he can recommend things that you didn't realize that you did need, which would help improve your business. He's available. Again, his website, FMSsourcing.com, 2 S's. Bill, any final comments before we close?
No, I think you did a very great job, Todd, and I thank you very much. And we look forward to helping more people.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you are a business owner out there and you are considering creating a franchise out of your business, you can call me directly, 423-381-0925 Eastern Standard Time, and we will give you a completely free, no pressure consultation to let you know if your business is ready to franchise. And if so, we will share with you all the wonderful things that FMS can do for you to create an amazingly professional franchise out of your business. And I'm speaking from experience because I too am a franchisor, and FMS is the company that created it for me, and they were perfect in every step of the process. So, Bill, thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in to this wonderful podcast on franchiseradio.net. Are you ready to turn your successful business into the next great franchise brand? Hi, I'm Todd Abraham, franchise consultant with Franchise Marketing Systems, the #1 franchise consulting company in America and Canada. If you've ever thought about franchising your business, now's the time to explore the possibilities. And my consulting services are completely free to any entrepreneur looking to create a franchise from their proven business model. At Franchise Marketing Systems, we handle everything: your franchise disclosure document, federal trademark filing, franchise information website, business plan, and so much more. And the best part, we make it affordable, breaking project fees into 6 to 8 easy monthly installments. So before you take your business nationwide, get the expert guidance you deserve with no pressure and no upfront cost. Call Todd Abraham today at 423-381-0925 for your free consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Todd Abraham with Franchise Marketing Systems, your one-stop shop for everything franchising.